Well, it's 4 o'clock here, so why don't we get started? Everybody, I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to kind of join us here. Everybody's on mute, so if you can, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. Perfect. All right, so my thought process here is we have two awesome coaches joining us. I have Mitch Harris, that obviously majority of you guys know. He's with me almost everywhere we go. So Mitch, thanks for joining. And then we also have Nobel Tucker. And some of you guys might remember Nobel. Nobel worked for us a couple seasons before he moved back out west. And I'm excited to have him on the phone and joining us here. But I wanted to kind of go over who we are, our story, a little bit of an introduction of me, Mitch, and Nobel. And then there's a couple things that we want to kind of review. I think it's important for you guys now in this time to kind of stay motivated and also find time to improve. Most of you guys, I'm sure, are trying to fill up your day with something to do. And we want to try and give you the resources to make sure that you're just not missing out on this huge opportunity. We're not at the rink, we're not together with our team, so you have to really find ways to self-motivate. And I want to give you a little bit of resources on that. And then also go over a little bit of a discussion, like what we can do mentally, physically, emotionally, how we can handle some of these, challenging times that's in front of us. And then we'll move from there. And I wanted to bring in Noble because some of you guys haven't worked with him before and some of you have. And obviously Mitch is also a wealth of knowledge. So I appreciate everybody joining. What I want to start with, so Noble, since you're the new guy here, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on who you are, what your story is, what's your ties to us, how do we build a relationship, and anything else you thought would be good for these kids to know.
Yeah, so I grew up in Southern California playing hockey out here, pretty much like squirt through 18 AAA. After that, I ended up playing juniors out here and then in the NORPAC for the Helena Bighorns. After that, I committed to a small D3 school in Boston, and it really wasn't the right fit for me educationally, and just like I never visited the school. So I transferred to the University of Delaware, played my remaining 3 years there, and then graduated, was still in the area, and I met Matt during my time there. And about a year after I graduated, I wanted to get back involved in hockey. So I had spoken with Matt a little bit about possibly trying to help out coaching. So he brought me on board. Oh, sorry, my alarm is going off.
That's a fine.
Wake up.
Reminder that I had this call. Yeah, Matt brought me on board, and he had me coaching out there, working with the Haverford Hawks and then Chester County Cougars. And then I was coming out with your Newman team and the Flyers. So I eventually moved back out to Southern California because all my family's out here, and I'm goalie coaching with a club out here that we offer Might to 18 AAA. So
awesome.
That's basically my background. Yeah.
What about you, Mitch? Why don't you give us a little bit of a synopsis on who you are, what your story is?
Sure. So my story is very different from anyone's. I'm the old guy. I'm the elder statesman of this group. And back when I grew up, back in the olden days, back in the 70s, hockey really wasn't that big. In South Jersey, I think there were 3 or 4 rinks. So I didn't skate. I played street hockey, and even street hockey, I was always a goalie. Every sport, soccer, everything, I was always a goalie. So fast forward a number of years. At 38 years old, I decided, and everyone probably knows that my son is Rhino, and we wanted Rye to play hockey. So I talked to my wife, and I said, listen, he's going to be on the ice. Someone's got to be out there with him. It's not going to be you. It's going to be me. I've always wanted to do this. Now's the time. So fast forward a little bit. I got gear, and I didn't want to be just the guy who was flopping around and whatever. So I actually sought out a goalie coach. I didn't know about Matt at the time. Sorry, Matt. But I found Tim Andra, who was in Westchester, and I, incidentally enough, had his own synthetic set up. Went down there, and he's like, you know what, let's see what you can do. So I get out there, and he takes some shots on me, and I have no idea how I'm doing. I just know I'm sweating like a pig. It's hot, just like in the studio here, a little bit out of shape. And comes walking up to me, and Matt, you know Tim, and he just looks at me with that smile. He's like, you're kidding me, right? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, you've never done this. I'm like, no. And I basically said, you look pretty good. I was always interested in goalies. I was a goalie guy. I always when I was watching games, I always watched the goalie. So I guess I learned by osmosis. So fast forward a little bit more, I got involved with selling some goalie accessories, started going to some camps, and I went up to Pierre Gru's camp, who happens to be the goalie coach for the Ottawa Senators. He invited me, and we're talking. He's like, if you want to hop on the ice, feel free. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll hop on, I'll watch. And he's like, you know what? I got to go do something. Can you run a station for me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Can I run a station? I'm like, sure. And at that point, it just clicked that I really wanted to get into coaching. Fast forward a little bit more, I was actually going out to meet Mitch, which I did not actually get to meet. I met a couple of guys at this camp, though. And I'm driving back from mid-state New York at 1, 2 in the morning. This idea hits me for this GoalieDr Junior Mentor program. And, you know, I called a couple of people. I called Matt up because where I was working with Matt, and I said, what do you think of this idea? I have the synthetic. Let's open up the studio and whatever. And it's like, sure, let's see what happens. And it just kind of took off from there. And you know, 4 years later, I'm a Division III goalie coach too. So I'm excited to do what I do. I have a day job, but this is where my passion is. And I'm thankful for Matt for giving me the opportunity to help you. And a lot of the goalies that are here, we work together at clinics or lessons or whatnot. So that's my roundabout story of how I got into this.
Yeah. I mean, I think the cool part about Mitch, myself, and Noble is we love hockey. I love hockey. Hockey is my favorite thing in the world, to be honest. But we understand that we have other things in the world. And I think when we're going through times like what we're going through now with the pandemic and our whole lives getting uprooted, schools getting canceled, mom and dad are maybe working from home if they're privileged to still have a job. You know, there's a lot of things that are crazy going on right now that we all have to learn how to process. And I think for you guys, it's important to kind of, you know, stay focused, stay humbled, you know, be grateful for the things that you guys have going on, but also, you know, use this time to improve. I mean, no other time in your lives or in my life has everything kind of come to a halt. So I appreciate everybody joining in on this conversation. I think it's a pretty cool environment to be able to have the technology where I can see you guys, you can see us, we can go through conversations. You know, this Zoom thing is kind of new for us. So for me, including, so I want to use the chat feature. If anybody has questions along the way, this is a discussion. So the main people that are going to be talking the most are me, Mitch, and Noble, but I want to interact with you guys. I want to answer questions that you guys have as we're going through. This is for you. But a little background on me for those who don't know who I am. It's Matt Tendler. I'm the one who started the GoalieDr. I'm local, grew up in Warminster, played for the Wissahickon Warriors, then Junior Flyers, Little Flyers. I played juniors up in Canada, went to Newman University, won a national championship there. I was fortunate enough to have a quick little stint with the Hershey Bears and the Wheeling Nailers. And then after that, I got involved with coaching. I was the head coach, assistant coach and goalie coach at Newman for 4 years. And I was a head coach there for 2 with the assistant athletic director position. And now all I do for the hockey side is the goalie stuff. I also am an investment manager, a financial advisor. So I have a little bit of dual roles. So it's kind of cool to have a little bit of the foundation of outside of hockey. And I think that's important for you guys. We all want to see you guys all be so successful. And I know that all of our dreams are NHL, Division I. That's very important. And I don't want to get you guys off that topic or distracted from that. But you also have to make sure that you're realistic. To be able to have the opportunity to play NCAA or professional is almost as close as winning the lottery. So you have to have a backup plan. That's where school's very important. You know, you have to have a good family support staff to be able to help you out when you need it, because especially in times like this, that's all that matters is your family. But overall, I'm excited to have you guys here. I want to see what you guys can come up with some questions as we go through. Use whatever you can on the Zoom meeting in the chat feature or the reactions feature, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I think for me, I wanted to loop Noble and Mitch in about discussing what are some things that we should be doing during this time when we're not allowed to go to the rink, when we should be practicing safe social distancing and staying close to our family and being almost on lockdown, you know, inside of your house, inside of your yard, being conscious of what you're doing, because there's nothing more sacred than your health. And this is very scary. At the same time, it's also very, if you practice good normal hygiene and social distancing, it's also very safe time if you are doing it properly. So we all have to kind of do this together and buy in and be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. But that doesn't mean we can't get better, and that doesn't mean we can't stay focused on our development as goalies. So there's a couple things that I wanted to go over, but I wanted to see what Nobel, what are some things that you think these kids should be doing, goalies rather, should be doing while they're at home that could help improve them and better prepare them whenever we get back on the ice?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should be taking this time to work on their off-ice conditioning. So, like right now, you guys should be, working out at home. Like, there's plenty of exercises you can do, like just with your body weight. Push-ups, sit-ups, lunges, Bulgarian split squats, stuff like that. And you can do those types of exercises to stay in shape, along with working on your flexibility and mobility, which I'll talk about in a little while and get a little more in depth. But I think you need to take this time to stay in shape and work on your off-ice conditioning. Like, you're not on the ice, so how are you going to get better on the ice? You can get better through off-ice conditioning. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think the off-ice stuff is major. Now, the question comes down to, what do we do? Because just like anything else, when we're trying to teach or coach or learn, we need a little bit of direction. The off-ice stuff, it can be very generic. I think there's a lot of good resources out there. YouTube is a huge resource. But just make sure, again, common sense. Let's look at things that you can do. Let's structure attainable goals for you to work towards, and make sure you're sticking with your level, and then slowly amping up the intensity and the challenge piece that you're working on. I know that we have some younger ones here. We have some older ones. The workout situation is going to probably be a little bit different. It also comes down to, what do you guys have at home? Be resourceful. Don't look for reasons why. Look for solutions why you can. So Noble, what do you think? Do you have some clips you want to pull up on some of the things you could work on?
Well, I have some stuff for mobility, but I can give you some exercises, or I could pull up some clips real quick.
Yeah, whatever you think is best.
I think personally, like, you want to do, like, as a goalie, you want to be explosive, right? So you want to do a lot of explosive exercises, like plyometrics. So I know we have like a shelter in place, but you could find like a curb outside your house, and you can practice like jumping on and off the curb quickly, like quick feet drills. So like, have your right foot, left foot alternating really quickly on. You can do like skater hops, where you are on one leg and you jump laterally and land on the opposite leg, and you load that leg and then jump laterally back to the other leg. You can work on squat jumps, where you do a basic air squat and then jump as high as you can. You can do tuck jumps, where you eliminate that squat, jump as high as you can, and try to tuck your knees up to your chest. Things like that to work on your explosiveness. As a goalie, you have to have a strong core too. So, like, I don't know if you guys are journaling right now, but dead bugs are a good exercise to do. You can do planks, side planks. I think it's some other shoulder taps while you're in a plank position. Anything that works your core, basically from your chest to your knees. Because as a goalie, that's so crucial to have a strong core, to be able to rotate and set yourself up to move and set for shots. So those are just some exercises. I have some clips on the mobility aspect of things.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'll just get into it. So basically, you guys always hear flexibility versus mobility. So as a goalie, we really want to focus on our mobility. Okay, flexibility is the ability of a muscle to lengthen. So like, you can set yourself up and do the split. You might be able to do the splits, right? But can you do the splits in a game when you have a pass back door? A lot of people can't. So that's where mobility comes in. Mobility is the ability of a joint to move actively through a range of motion. So you're controlling that range of motion versus just holding yourself. So mobility is what we use as goalies. And Maria Mountain, I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She was talking about this the other day, so I wanted to make sure I relay this information. Like, everyone has different shaped bones, ligaments, tendons. Everyone's different sizes. You take Mitch, Matt, and I. We're all different heights, different sizes, different limb lengths, and you want to focus on your mobility and work on stabilizing your muscles when you're in positions. You know, when you're kicking out your leg to make a kick save, or when you're rotating to recover to, you know, follow a rebound, or when you're trying to, you know, battle in net and you're scrambling to make a save. Like, all of our physical preparedness comes into that. And a lot of areas you want to target, well, the main areas are your ankles, knees, hips, your thoracic spine, and your shoulders. So I can take over the screen, right, Matt?
Yep.
So,
Just, I think it's down at the bottom. You can just share screen and then just hit that button.
yeah, I'm not seeing it. Oh, share. So can you guys see that?
Let's see here.
Now we can.
There we go.
Perfect. So this is just a picture. If you notice, the guy has the band around his ankle. This is a good way to work on your ankle mobility. So basically, he's going to drive his knee forward, and he's going to work on his dorsiflexion. So that's a good way. You could hold that for, you know, 10 to 30 seconds and do like 5 sets each ankle. That's a good exercise you could do for your ankles. Your ankles are important for hockey. I personally sprained mine twice in one summer. And it was a big year in my life. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your body. As far as your knees, there's a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff that you can bring up. But so like I'm not going to dive completely into that, but an important exercise for your hips is a 90-90 hip mobility. You guys should all be doing this for recovery. Basically, you're going to be doing 90-degree rotations here with your hips. And you're always going back to center. You guys all see that?
We don't. I'm not seeing it.
Here, let me.
I can still see the old picture with the guy with the band.
Okay, so we got.
Bless you, Mitch.
Okay, so every time that I switch the screen, I got to share.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so right here, see the guy sits upright. He has both feet on the ground, and he's going to rotate. This is a great exercise you guys can do at home for your hips. It'll help, like, you know, with a wide butterfly flare, and it'll help like RVH positions, stuff like that. So this is something you guys should be doing. There's different variations to that. Like I said, you guys can search on YouTube. Just look up 90-90 hip mobility. There's a lot of physical therapists out there that have a wealth of knowledge that will like go into more depth on these types of things. Your thoracic spine. Your thoracic's like the middle of your back, right about here. If you guys can see my arrow. This is one you guys should be doing. Like I said, you rotate a lot as a goalie.
Reach forward, up and over, keeping the knee in the same.
So you guys rotate a lot as a goalie, right? You have to rotate in order to give yourself access to make a save, for recovery, stuff like that. So this is a good drill you guys can do. You keep your knee on a foam roller, and you're going to rotate. Your goal should be able to bring this top hand all the way to the ground without having to bring your knee off the foam roller. So that's another good exercise you guys can do. And then you guys also want to focus on your shoulders. You know, as goalies, we have our hands forward. We're kind of, I don't want to say hunched down, but we're leaning forward a lot of times. So you guys want to make sure that you focus on your shoulders. So ankles, knees, hips, thoracic spine, and shoulders are the areas you want to target. And this stuff is going to help you guys have a long, healthy hockey career and avoid injuries. So
I think it comes down to range of motion, right? So you're trying to make sure that you're gaining mobility and flexibility in all the range of motions. And I think that's a good time for us to work on that. For myself, you know, it was a long winter and I'm not getting any younger. So it's very important for me to take care of my body, being on the ice, you know, 6-7 hours a day. Same thing with Mitch and Nobel. I'm sure you're busy too. So it all comes down to mobility and what you're building up in form in regards to your routine. I think your routine is very important to start thinking about how you're working on it, what you're doing. You know, everybody has, just like Mason said, is built differently. We all have different strengths and different weaknesses. It's important for us to identify what our strengths are, you know, improve upon them as best we can, but also identify our weaknesses. And that goes into mobility and movement. You know, sometimes you're trying to go down in that full butterfly or half butterfly or the RVH, and you're feeling a little bit of pressure or it hurts somewhere, this is a great time to work on that mobility, to gain that flexibility and the fluidity inside of all your body. The best thing that you can do right now is gain a little bit more understanding of who you are, what your body can do, how far it can move, and then also test your limits. You look at some of these high performance athletes and outside of hockey. I mean, gymnastic participants are ridiculously flexible with great range of motion. We can piggyback off of some of those other things that people work on in other sports to be able to build the best goaltender that you can be. It's not just always hockey, hockey, hockey. We talk about diversifying ourselves. A lot of you guys play other sports, which I think is great. And that's where you can kind of mix and match different things from different sports to make you the best athlete you can be. And you need to be strong. You need to be flexible. You have to have mobility, agility, and everything. And these are things that can help. So thanks so much for that great tidbit on mobility and flexibility, Nobel. So Mitch, what do you have? I know that we talked about a few things. What do you think something is that you can communicate to give these kids something to focus on or work on at home that they should be provide their attention to?
Sure. So the two things for me that, and I'm hoping that people are watching my Instagram or the GoalieDr Facebook page, but every day I'm posting a hand-eye drill. Hand-eye is something that you can do with very limited resources with a simple ball, if that's all you have, and find ways to get creative. The other thing that I've been working on that you've been seeing is a lot of stick handling stuff. So what I really just want to kind of go over is some of the tools that I use with my hand-eye drills. A lot of them, you probably have at home. Some you don't. None of which are going to break the bank. So if you have the ability to spend a couple of bucks on it, I recommend it because they can just add such value to your hand-eye. Because we don't want to become repetitive. We don't want to become predictable. We don't want to become easy. So just really quickly, one thing I have here is a mini baseball. The smaller the object, the harder it is to track. It's white. It's harder to track. Okay. If we're looking for something that's not going to bounce as much, you can just use a tennis ball. Tennis balls are simple, not going to always bounce all the way back up to me, as opposed to a racquetball. That's always going to pretty much bounce as high as it can back. The one thing I also want to throw out there is if we can, let's use our glove and blockers out there. I know a blocker is a little bit hard. They go all over the place. But a glove, let you work on that catching mechanic, because I think one thing that I have, and Matt can attest to, is I have a good glove. And I can face shooters much younger than me with harder shots, and I'm very confident I'm going to stop them with my glove, just because playing baseball I can catch. Today, kids, you guys don't play baseball as much. It's boring. It's slow. I get it, but the ability to catch has been lost, and we almost have two blockers. So I really want us, if we can, let's use our glove to make those saves with our glove hand. The other couple of products that I've been using, this one here, it's called the Vector Ball. You can see it randomly will light up a color. So the thing I really like doing with this is, and there's a number of drills I can do, you can throw it against the wall, call out the color. If you have some colored squares in front of you, you can catch it and then run to that, or do a squat, for red, you do a squat, for blue, you do a push-up, for green, you do a little sprint. So come up and get creative. Again, I'm doing a lot of stuff every day on Instagram with this. I'm also doing a lot of passing things with this as well. The other drill or thing I've been using is called a Hiko stick. The Hiko stick, as you can see, it has 3 ends. Great drill of this is it gets tossed to you, you call out, and you try to catch the actual color. So if I'm tossing it up red, I'm catching the red leg. If you're by yourself, not a problem. Go red, next one there's blue or black, then go to black, then go to white, and then reverse it. And twist it around, do whatever you want with it. It's soft, not gonna hurt anyone. Throw it at your little brother or sister, you're not gonna hurt them. It's okay. It's really okay.
Don't throw it at your little sister.
No, you shouldn't do that. Another tool that I like using is a soccer ball, especially with the younger goalies with gut traps. I see a lot of goalies, we have this huge piece of equipment that's our chest, the biggest piece of equipment we have. It's the fastest piece of equipment we have. No one's going to beat your chest. It's not going to go through you. But what I see a lot of goalies do is they just let pucks hit them in the chest and they just drop. If we're using this soccer ball, we can really work on tracking it in and covering it up. Work with something a little bit bigger, then progress to something smaller. Then maybe go to a tennis ball, go to a racquetball, go to the mini baseball. Little things like that are some tools that you can use. The final tool that I'm going to talk about, and I'm actually going to tease this a little bit, is swivel vision goggles. Okay, What these goggles do, and I'll even put them on. I'll do it. Why not? What these goggles do is they take away, so I'm turned this way, I cannot see my computer right now. So they take away your peripheral vision. So the big thing with goalies that I see is our hands are too far back. With my goggles, I can't see them. Now, if I look down a little bit, I can see my hands. We want to keep our hands out in front of us. So the tease I'm going to have is this coming weekend, I will be having a contest. Have not decided on what the contest is going to be. It will be on my Instagram page, and I will be giving away a free pair of full vision goggles. So keep your eyes out for that. So
Perfect.
That's my little synopsis on the goggles. I see we have a question. Joe's asking, what's the best ball to use for catching? Honestly, the best ball to use, in my opinion, if you're using your glove, is get a lacrosse ball. Lacrosse ball is heavy. It's more like a puck. Obviously, if I'm using a racquetball, it's easy for me to – good thing I caught it on my one try. It's easier to catch. I told you I have hands. It's easier to catch, but it's also light. So if we use a lacrosse ball is heavy. It mimics a puck. The only thing just beware of is that it is harder, so get a surface that's not soft, and it could hurt a little bit if it hits you. So let's really just focus on a good accurate throw to that glove hand. But I really like lacrosse balls for working on the glove and proper glove mechanics.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a best of anything, right? Especially, I preach this. There's nobody, if anybody told you this, that they have 100% all the information, they're lying to you. Or this is 100% the perfect way, they're lying. Goaltending is so fluid. So for things like this, the best is really what you need. So what are you trying to work on? For some goalies, like Mitch said, need a little bit more of an opportunity to break in their glove or increase their hand strength or really practice at catching mechanics. Maybe a lacrosse ball is great because it has the same weight and it has a pretty good bounce. If you're just working and just trying to really improve your hand-eye coordination, for me, I always carried a tennis ball everywhere I went, whenever I went to a hockey rink. Anytime I needed to do anything before I got on the ice, it was always part of my routine. About 10, 15 minutes before I stepped on the ice for practice, usually a half an hour before a game, I'd be doing some tennis ball drills, getting my hand-eye coordination going. And as I progressed, I really liked the racquetball. When I was playing in college, that's the only thing I used because it had a little bit more pop. So depending on what you're working on, there's different situations. But for right now, when you're at home, find what you can use. Get creative. Find a solution. If you have a tennis ball, boom, use that. If you have a lacrosse ball and you want to get your glove on, great. Make sure you talk to mom and dad before you start throwing that thing around because it can break stuff. So be conscious of your surroundings. Or use a tennis ball if you have to. Either way works as long as you're doing something. Remember, baby steps is still progress moving forward. And that's really what we want to do is light a little fire underneath your butt to make sure that we're not wasting this time or just, dwindling away on the couch watching TV or Netflix series. It's important for you guys to do stuff. So Noble brought up mobility, movement, flexibility, full range of motion, hand-eye coordination stuff is real easy to do. Mitch provides great opportunities to learn from his videos on his Instagram or YouTube. Again, YouTube's a great environment to learn different situations and different skills. Jump on that. For me, I want to talk about what you can do physically. I think it's important for you guys to make sure you're not sitting on the couch and wasting away all that hard work that you put in for the winter. So for me, I just did a couple of things where I did some off-ice drills. So I want to show you some of the things that I worked on. So I think it's important. Can you see that? I can't see that. Hold on. Let's go with this. Okay. So for me, it's more about balance and mobility. So this is something that Noble talked about is getting full range of motion. For here, I was just balancing on one foot, having a good strong base up top, trying to get my hip to open up all the way, getting that leg to flare out and making sure I have good balance on that foot. Normally what I want to try and do is about 10 per side and make sure you hold your balance and try and keep that other foot, moving foot off the ground. Simple enough. Squats, mobility, right? Keeping your hips above your heels as best you can, keeping that chest up, hands are out in front. Just again, making sure you're doing it. And again, I'd probably do this about 10 reps. Here's the next one I would be doing. It's about a half squat to a full squat to a jump. Half squat to a full squat to a jump. And again, trying to explode up. We're working on those plyometrics. Noble touched on it. We want to become more explosive and we want to work on our balance and our coordination. Here's another great one. A little bit of a split squat jump. alternating our feet, making sure we have good posture, making sure we're getting a little bit of height and adjusting and staying balanced all the way through. I would go 10 each side again, and then just something simple as a broad jump. Something where you're exploding and landing and controlling your balance and your body weight. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. We all need to be moving. We all need to be active. We all have to keep ourselves involved and invested in this process. And I want to make sure that you guys realize it doesn't always have to be the most complicated thing ever. A lot of coaches and a lot of people want to say, the more, you need them. You don't really need us. That's why I wanted just to bring you guys here in an environment where it was more of a discussion. So you guys understand that we're here to provide resources, but this is all stuff that you guys can be doing at home without supervision, without mom and dad yelling and screaming at you and kicking you in the butt to get off the couch. This is an ample time that most of you guys talk to me, hey, I want to go play and I want to go do this. I want to play juniors. I want to play college. I want to be in NHL. Well, fine. If that's where you want to be, do it. And this is a perfect time for you to invest in yourself. No one's going to be there. Coach isn't on the ice yelling and screaming at you. Mom and dad shouldn't be pushing you to do, hockey workouts. That fire should come from you. I don't know about the, Nobel, but for me, when I was growing up, I was the one that wanted to be the most active and invested in the process. My parents always preached school, school, school. Well, in my mind, I was an NHL player from day one. So I had a good influence from my parents, making sure that I focused on my academics and had a good, backup plan. And then I had the motivation that I was going to be an NHL player. So I didn't need any motivation. I didn't really need any nudging to get things done. I found resources. I listened to some of the references that I was able to find, and I came up with ideas and exercises. Again, for you guys, running. You guys should be running. You should, and not just going on, 5-mile, jogs. I think those are good and important, when you need, an opportunity to kind of clear your head. But if you want to get faster, sprint work, that's awesome. It's great. 10, 15-yard sprints at a time, do that 5, 10 times, and then you take a little bit of break, and then maybe you'll go a little bit farther. Maybe it's 30 yards at a time, 30-yard sprints. And then you get a minute break in between, some interval training. I think that's important for you guys to make sure you build up your endurance and plus also your explosiveness. And just like Nobel touched on, I think another piece is going to be the core. And this is something, can you guys see this? Mitch, Nobel? All right, perfect. So this is just a couple exercises. You can do scissors. You can do flutters, which is leg kicks, up and down. Again, gaining mobility in your hips, but gaining strength and control. Opening up your hips, making sure for this one, my hips click every time because I need to open up my hips and gain a little bit more, flexibility and mobility because as we get older, things start to break. Here's another little scissor with a pause where you're really working on a stretch and extending out those legs, but really controlling. Again, never hitting the ground. Back to a nice little scissor, a little bit higher, a little bit more controlled, feel a little bit more of a stretch. These are called windshield wipers, where your legs are straight, having them pretty much rotate around. This is great for the lower back and your lower core. For goalies, it's all about balance, coordination, and strength. And the strength doesn't mean to be pushing 300 pounds with a bench press. For goalies to be the strongest that they need to be, it's core and legs, right? Our upper body is important. You're going to need to have strong upper body to be able to battle and compete against bigger players. But for you guys, for the majority of you guys, where you're still in the development stage, where you're still climbing the ladder, where you still need to get better, if you're going to focus some time and attention, it should be your core and your lower half. Mitch, Noble, any comments on that?
I completely agree with what you're saying, like about the core and your legs. Like your legs are what move you around the ice, and the lower half has to be extremely important with hockey. So
I wonder how I can stop sharing my video. Oh, there it is.
No, I agree, Matt. One of the drill. Every week I try to with my weekly drills. I try to do a hand-eye, just a traditional hand-eye Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mix things up a little bit. One day every week I do a core where I do a combination, whether it be a plank catch, whether it be a sit-up crunch catch. I know Noble and you and I talked about the reverse crunches. My more challenging one was the bird dog catching. which I know Aiden didn't really appreciate it. He's in the other room. He's actually amped to get on the ice in a little bit. So-called ice. That's all we got right now. So I know that working core is not always the most fun thing to do, quote unquote fun, but if you can add a hand-eye element to it, let's go for it. And I have a few more in the arsenal that are coming out pretty soon too.
All right, good. Well, I appreciate, the insight, and hopefully you guys thought that was, a little bit of value from each of us about what you guys can be focused on or working on. The last little piece of that I wanted to discuss before we jump into the questions is just a little bit of the mental side of this, right? Mentally, I think a great question. What would you suggest to improve or keep your hockey IQ as we cannot get on the ice right now? Jacob, I think that's a great question. Mentally, what can we be doing? I think it's a great opportunity to kind of step away from the game. You're going to have so many chances and so much practice whenever you get back on the ice that it's going to come back just like the saying, just as easy as riding a bike, right? Once you learn how to ride a bike, you never really forget how to ride a bike. It's the same thing with goaltending. Now, are you going to be as sharp? As you're going to be as clean, crisp? Absolutely not. So the mental side, I would say the best thing that you could do is really work on yourself, outside of hockey. I think the game's going to be there, but this is a good opportunity to kind of reinvest yourself in yourself. Understand what your routine is, what your schedule is. We all have 24 hours in our day. And for the next 25 days or so, we're all kind of stuck inside of our house at the earliest. So it's really now a question of how can you invest your time the wisest? How can you be the most efficient you can be with your time? We're all going to be going through the time where we show hope to strive to get 7 to 8 hours a day. We're going to need, most of you guys are going to do some online schooling. So you have to allocate time for that. It's important right now to think about meals, what you're putting inside of your body. That's very important. It's more controllable now because we're not going all over the place or being, torn in 12 different directions from school to hockey to this, that, and the other thing. You're at home. Think about what you're putting in your body, when you're doing it. Structure your day. For me, right now, I'm trying to get myself as efficient as I can be in this little world that we're living in. So I write down what I'm going to do for my 16 hours of my day. I wake up. This is when I'm going to, take a shower. I'm going to eat. This is when I got to do work for my investment firm. This is when I'm going to take a walk. This is when I'm going to do some video. This is when I'm going to stretch. Try and really plan out your day. This is a great time for us to reset, right? Understand things that we didn't like about our process or our schedule and take them out, and reflect about things that we thought were the most beneficial or the things that we liked the most, and start filling up our day with those. It's a great time to kind of reevaluate and readjust and reassess, learn how to adapt and overcome. And when you get back on the ice, you're going to be so much more confident, which is part of the hockey IQ side, confident because you understand about the amount of work that you put in. And that's really where your confidence comes from. Just like if you're in a class and you have to take a test, your confidence comes from knowing the material and studying. Well, this is your time to study and to study yourself. Study your workout routine, study your habits, your schedules, and really learn how to refine them. And then when you get back on the ice, just like I said, it'll come back and you'll be more mature and you'll be better off and more confident. So whenever you step on the ice, you're ready to rock and roll. I think this is a little bit of a interesting time because we got shut down right before tryouts. So everyone's worried about, what am I going to do next year? What's going on? When are they going to have tryouts? When I have tryouts, am I going to be ready? Are they going to just divvy up teams off of what happened last year? I have no idea. No one knows. And that's kind of the uncertainty of this, is we kind of have to be patient, but allocate our time and attention to the things that we can control. And that's your habits, your routine, your schedule. So make sure you guys aren't missing out on that opportunity. We only have a few more minutes left here. Nobody, you have anything to kind of close out on some words of advice?
I wanted to add to what you were saying about tryouts. I'm 3,000 miles away from you guys, and we're dealing with the same thing here. And there's no ice rinks open. Nobody can get on the ice. So, everyone's in the same boat with that. And to prepare yourself for tryouts, stuff like we talked about today, that can help you guys prepare and get ready and stay in shape and make sure that you're physically prepared. Everyone's going to be a little bit rusty when they get on the ice, but it's not like anybody's skating right now, and nobody has ice available. And so that's an important thing to remember. And one other thing, earlier Matt said it's a privilege to play hockey, and you don't have to do something, you get to do something. You don't have to work out, you get to work out. If you're injured, you might not be able to do some of these workouts. So like it's a privilege to be able to work out. It's a privilege to be able to go to school. It's a privilege to play hockey, etc. So you don't have to do anything, you get to do it. It's a privilege. So just remember that, guys.
Mitch, you got something to add?
To me, it's funny. I mean, this is, to me, kind of like back to the olden days. When I was a kid, there were seasonal sports. You played, whether it be soccer in the fall, basketball, or hockey in the winter, and then baseball in the summer. Seasons didn't overlap. And I'm sure the parents out there of your kids probably know that too. It's foreign to me, or was, now obviously it's the normal, but that you went right from sport and it goes all year round. So it's kind of a back to the future kind of thing. But I would just say take advantage of this time to reset yourself. The position we play is very taxing on your body, for your knees, your hips, your ankles, and you're all developing athletes. You're not professional athletes. You're not adults. So the grind that you guys go through during the season and practices, take this time to rejuvenate, to recover from that. We don't, and I see a lot of people on Instagram showing their videos of them in pads at home and doing this at home and dropping in butterflies. Stay on your feet and do stuff. You don't have to drop on everything. Let your lower body recover, and everything will come back. Everyone, like Mo said, we're on the same boat, guys. No one's on the ice. I'm lucky enough that I have my studio in my basement, and there's literally one goalie in the world right now probably who can work, and that's my billet. Who's, again, he's going to hop on a little bit. But for the most part, take advantage of this time away, regroup. And Joe, you had a question about hockey IQ. The thing that you can do, and that's always going to be out there, is NHL.com has so many clips of saves and goals.
Video.
Watch them. Watch and visualize what they're doing. Visualize whatever goalie your favorite goalie is, whether it be Carey Price, whether it be Holtby, whoever it is, Carter Hart. Visualize what they're doing. Okay, that cross ice pass, he stayed on his feet. Okay. And then pucks in the corner, he stayed on his feet, didn't drop into RVH, or did this and did that. Watch it and try to visualize how and put that in your game. I'll tell you what, and we'll talk about this next week. I want to get into it a little bit next week, is the visualization part of hockey. I think it's something that young goalies and even older goalies really overlook. I think it's something that really should be done a lot more. I'll close with that. A little teaser for next week.
I like it. I mean, it's important to watch video, and I think there's so much resources out there that if you guys want to keep your hockey IQ or improve, the best way to do it is watch somebody else play, watch higher quality goalies play, watch high level goalies play, juniors, college, professional, whatever you can find video of, watch it. We have tons of video on our Goalie Doctor YouTube page with a lot of high level goalies playing, goalies that are a little bit younger. If you want to watch someone that's your peer, we got plenty of opportunities to watch other goalies that are somewhat your age too, to learn from them. You can learn in so many different ways, but you just got to be open to it, and you got to be focused on it. 100% effort in what you do off the ice, but also 100% attention to the details, what you're working on, what you should be working on, using your resources, and hopefully enjoying the process. That's really what makes it fun. It's fun to be better than other people at stuff, and you want to be better than your competitors. When you're a goaltender, that's the name of the game. There's only 2 spots on each team normally, and one goalie gets to play. You got to be better than somebody. So what are you going to do to get there? And everyone's kind of on the same playing field. If you want fair, this is fair. Nobody can go to the rink. Nobody can really go to the gym. Some people have a little bit different resources at home than others, but if you want to get better, you want to allocate your time and resources to it, you can. I think the mobility side that Nobel touched on is so very important. Work on flexibility, stretching, and that can be done every day. Every day. I mean that. Twice a day, even if you want to. I usually do it when I wake up. I get a nice little stretch, and then I usually do it after my workout to keep my mobility. The hand-eye coordination drills doesn't take a lot of expensive materials. You want to use a tennis ball or a racquetball or a lacrosse ball or whatever you want. If you and dad want to go out or mom want to go out and have a catch, that counts as hand-eye coordination. Just keep yourself active. And last but not least, the mobility stuff that incorporates a little bit of strength. Work on the plyometrics, and that's pretty much jumping. And I think sprinting and your endurance is important. A couple goalies said, hey, I rollerblade. Great. I used to rollerblade every day. It's an awesome exercise. It's great to have that a little bit more fun environment to get out there and get a sweat. just make sure you're working on your stick handling, getting your glove and your blocker out there with a goalie stick, and maybe if you have a stick handling ball, great. If not, a golf ball works great too for that. Before we head out, there's a couple questions I want to touch on. So this is to all three of the coaches. What is the most challenging part to move up levels in hockey and play at the highest levels? So we have a California coach that also played college. Why don't I let you answer that one first and give me in a quick little minute?
Yeah, so I think the hardest part about going up at levels in hockey is the higher you go up, the more competitive that's going to be, and the more you're going to be scrutinized. You give up a goal, and you're going to be judged more on it. And everyone's better, and the goalie next to you is better. Like Matt said, there's 2 goalies on a team. And college, there might be 3, and all 3 goalies are very, very good, and it's more competitive. And you gotta, be an all-around athlete to be the best hockey player that you can be. You have to be a better goalie on the ice, and these things off the ice are going to go into that. Are you working harder in the gym? Are you working harder in school? Like, are you doing the extra things to make yourself better to be that number 1 guy? But just as you go up levels, you're going to be scrutinized more. Look at the NHL. They always say Toronto and Philly are like tough places to play because as a goalie, they take a lot of heat, and you're just going to be judged a lot. So, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. Have fun. Don't worry too much about those types of things.
Yeah, and obviously we got Mitch, an NCAA Division III goalie coach, who is part of the development of the goalies. So, you get an opportunity to kind of be on the ice with these guys a lot, and those guys kind of went through the path that I think some of these goalies are looking to try and do. What do you think was important for them to kind of separate themselves to get to where they're at?
It's hard. I mean, we at Bryn Athyn, we have 4 good goalies, and it's a challenge every week. It was, it's hard making that decision. The head coach and we would talk. I mean, I was in practice every day, and one day I'd say so-and-so should start. The next day it should be so-and-so. Next day it should be back to him. It's really about bringing the mental aspect to your game every practice, and bring it every game, every practice, treating every practice as a game, taking advantage of every rep you get, and making the most of it, and just practicing as hard as you can. I say practice like you play. You should actually practice harder than you play. In games, you're not facing 150 shots. Hope you're not. If not, your D's pretty bad. But in general, I mean, it's going out and competing. If you have an off day, chances are you're probably going to lose your spot for that week. So just try to bring it as best you can. And I know it's hard. I mean, as a coach, it's hard. Matt and nobody probably said there's days where you step off the ice, you're like, you know what, I didn't have it today. I just didn't. I wasn't feeling it. And we know goalies. You had something happen at school. You had an argument with mom or dad or your sister or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And it's just bring it as best you can. The ice is your escape. That's your happy place. Happy Gilmore. Go to your happy place. The ice is as good as it gets. That crease is yours, man. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think the hardest, most challenging piece to play and continuing to climb at the higher level is your consistency. Everybody's good when you're having a good day. Okay. It's the ones that can do it every day, no matter what, whether you feel good, whether you get a good warm up, whether you have a bad teammate that hits you right in the cage in warmups, and be able to still kind of battle through that and play a really good game. It's the consistency side. I was very athletic. I moved crazy, probably too much than what goalies should now. I was very athletic. I skated very well. And for me, the consistency was the hardest part. And that wasn't really necessarily the consistency of my attitude or my work ethic, but the consistency to be able to be relied upon to make the saves you're supposed to, but also be in a situation to make the save that you're not. And that's really what sometimes separates goalies. And also, just like everybody said, it gets so competitive as you get older. I was lucky to have the opportunity to kind of swim in the sea of sharks with Hershey and with the Wheeling Nailers. When I was at Hershey, Hopi was the one that got called up whenever I got the opportunity to play. And then they had Grubauer and Felix Copley also there when I was there. So, you look at that mix of goalies, I think it's easy to kind of tell who the the odd man out was. And it's me because, you know, I'm 5'8", and those guys were a little bit bigger, better. They're much better. But I was right there, but I had the ability, but I didn't have the ability to embrace that or instill that much confidence in my consistency in the coaches, because obviously everybody looks at a bigger size goalie, and that's the consistency part too. You know, some things are within our control and some things aren't. You know, when I was at Wheeling, I played a game, got a shutout. Next time I went to the rink, my bag was packed. It's like, I got cut after a shutout? It's the NHL lockout, and Scott Darling's going to be sent down, so you got to go. So, you know, every time I was trying to knock on the door, it wasn't necessarily that I wasn't good enough or I didn't have the ability to play there. It just wasn't the right opportunity. And some of the guys that you guys are looking, I know a few brought up, I want to make that jump from tier 2 to tier 1 or AA to AAA. You know, sometimes you might be good enough, and you might be good enough to swim in that sea for a little bit, but it comes down to consistency, and it comes down to your resume whenever you're trying to go to tryouts. You know, can you look and feel the part whenever a coach watches you for, you know, 5-10 minutes of a tryout? And also, does your resume and your references match up with a goalie that's going to be something special? Every coach wants to win. Every program needs a good goaltender. So if you're good enough and you have the ability, you have to have faith that you're going to be able to get there. But at the end of the day, it's always up to us to make the best of every situation. And I appreciate all you guys joining us. You know, this was a good first Zoom meeting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anybody that has any follow-up questions or want to have a discussion in a more private environment, feel free to reach out. We're here. I'm not going anywhere for the next 30 days pretty much, because we're all on lockdown. I'm sure Mitch is doing the same. So Nobel, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully the guys that were on the line got a lot out of it. Mitch, you're always great with all the insights and the information that you have. Make sure you guys go check out his Instagram for the hand-eye coordination drills. And the 2 exercises that I did, I'll post those guys up for you just so you have some references. You know, again, I would say do about 10 reps each exercise and make sure you go through the full loop 2 or 3 times. And if that's easy, maybe do a little bit more reps. Or if you're looking for other exercise, go on YouTube. There's plenty of exercises, plenty of references out there. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you stay safe, wash your hands, and embrace the opportunity that you have. We all have the same amount of time in our day. We have limited amount of distractions now. So if you want to get better, you want to be better, go do better, right? Go stretch, go work out, go run, go watch video, go work on your hands. You know, stay involved, stay invested. And if you need some extra references or resources, reach out to us. We're here. So everybody, thanks. Mitch, thanks. Noble, you're the man. It's always good catching up with you. The East Coast misses you, man. Everybody, if you need anything, send us a note or an email. All right. Thanks, guys.